So one of the things I share with my colleagues who I love, contrary to popular belief, Harvard is not, the place where people have egos and nobody, everybody's listing off all their degrees. I found folks to be very humble, very caring, and very engaged. And I was very clear as a part of my authentic self, as being a diversity officer before, you do get exhausted, you get tired, because one of the things I shared is that we oftentimes want to talk about diversity from a theoretical place.
Yeah.
This is human work.
Yeah.
This is self-behavioral change, and you have to meet people in that space. You can't go at it from a theory. Yes, the theories play a key role in education, understanding change and all that, but if we really want to change people, it has to be human to human.
Right.
And so I shared with Harvard, and they committed. I said, I'm not coming here if Jerome is going to be doing this work alone. There has to be co-conspirators doing this work with me, from the senior leaders throughout the organization.
Yes.
And they have been committed. I'm sure this is hard work for everybody, but the beautiful piece is the team and the staff has been overwhelmingly welcoming. Now, you do have folks who said, well, you've been here 90 days, so what are you going to do now? And I'm like, well, I don't think I can change Harvard's 350-year history in 90 days. I can't, break down the barriers of systemic racism in 90 days or even a year. It took Harvard all these years, or any organization, replace Harvard with any organization. All the policies and practices put in place to build what we have is going to take just as much time, if not more, to dismantle it and to rethink it and to reprocess it.
Right.
So one of the things I think we fail in our EDI work is sometimes we expect that one hero to come in and fix it immediately when we have not interrogated what it means to have an equitable environment, what it means that we're going to look at intentionally to reviewing policies and practices and procedures around income, around salaries, around titles, around units and organizations. And so it takes time and it takes commitment.
Yeah. I love that. I totally agree with you. And I talk about this all the time. Like this world that we're living in now, we have a totally new model that has to come into existence.
Absolutely.
And it needs to be some that is heavily resourced. It has to be sustainably built. So it has to be built so that it is intended to be poured into consistently, just like the relationship you were describing a little while ago. And also, it has to be wholly different. So all of this siloizing it, where one person comes in and poof, we have officially we officially have something in place, or where we have a task force or a small group of people, or HR centric or HR driven only. It's just not going to work anymore. What we need to have is exactly like you're describing, something that is much more systemic, and where people in every single role in the organization understand their work associated with forwarding an equity, diversity, and inclusion agenda that also has anti-racism and anti-oppression squarely involved in it, right? And they understand. And for you, someone who's relatively new in that role, it's just helping everybody get on the same page. Like, your title has the word anti-racism in it. That's a huge commitment that Harvard just made. I remember talking to the VP beforehand and saying, this is a commitment, but let me just tell you, Harvard has been known to jump up.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you're going to do it, do it. Yep. But all of this, I'm going to do it around the edges, or do it by stealth, or kind of do it and see who comes next. That's not how Harvard rolls. Absolutely. If you're going to do it, do it. Yep. And do it well, not well in a performative way, well in a, here's where our values are. Yep. We're going to set our own bar, and our bar is going to be very high, and then we are going to work our tails off to clear it. And that's the thing that I feel so excited about, that they were willing to at least start with a ridiculously clear title and then go from there, right? And that even just the title alone, your title, says so much about that commitment, because there's a lot of organizations that have equity, diversity, inclusion, belonging, accessibility, right? But to say anti-racism and then actually to put a position and an entire set of resources around it, that's an incredibly strong starting point.
Absolutely. And I have to say the university is very committed. The VP is very committed. not just in resources, but just in also engaging.
Yeah.
And so it's key. There was, some scuttlebutt in the profession when the title came out. People like, how's one person going to do anti-racism? And, there's things that we're working on internally to support the program. But Harvard, one of the values is that we have for the library specifically is being a world-class anti-racist library.
Yeah.
And so what folks automatically think of is defining what that value means to them versus what it means to Harvard and to Harvard Library. And what it means to us at Harvard Library is that we're going to interrogate our collection. How do we look at building an anti-racist library? What voices are we not buying or collecting or highlighting? Where are dissenting voices being published that we may not understand or know that exist? And what language are they in? How do we really talk about decolonizing the collections to the point of not cancel culture, but being inclusive of all voices? So
Right.
It really talks about anti-racism and being a world-class anti-racist library. It's not just about people. It's about the work that we do, how we
Right,
do
right.
it, how we think, how we implement, how we ideate, how we innovate. All those parts are very important to an anti-racist agenda.
I love it. And I love the example because that's what people need is to connect the dots. Like if we're going to say that we are anti-racist, we need to understand what that looks like. And again, outside of just the kind of obvious structures like HR, right? It's not just about adding more, ways to, not just adding a place for pronouns or not just adding more, non-binary inclusive language around gender identification, right? It's really about also thinking about moving into the function of the organization, right? The business of the organization. And in the library, collections and making accessible research and scholarly works is the business. Yeah, absolutely.
Space, visual culture, art, signage, all those things are things that play a role in anti-racism and how we see and think and provide services to those who are our users.
I can only imagine, walking around the campus or the libraries, any of the libraries at Harvard with an anti-racist lens and thinking, okay, is this a place that is screaming anti-racism to me? Like looking around at all those, portraits and none of them look like me.
Right.
Right? And wondering, like, how do we get from a place of kind of being so proud of this ridiculously prestigious and exclusive, right, community that we've created to one that allows us to continue to hold on to the thing that makes us us, as well as breathe life into a history that is yet untold and a future that we are discovering.